"Get off my porch, you idiot." The shout hit Leo in the back a split second before the shove did. His heels slipped on the worn wooden step, pizza bag swinging off his shoulder. For a heartbeat he was weightless, seeing the cracked driveway and the dark streetlights below, knowing if he went down wrong he'd be out of work for weeks. A low, savage bark exploded from next door. Leo's foot caught the edge of the step. His ankle twisted, but he managed to grab the rail and arrest the fall, shoulder slamming into a splintered post. Pain flashed white-hot down his arm. The pizza bag tumbled, landing on the concrete with a dull thud. "You just cost me that order," the manager on the porch snarled. "You think I'm paying for this? You're done delivering here." Leo turned, chest heaving. The man in the doorway wore a faded polo with the logo of Harlan's Grill stitched over his heart. He was maybe late 40s, thick-necked, with mean, restless eyes that looked like they enjoyed having someone to blame. "I was just dropping the food off like the app said," Leo said, trying to keep his voice steady. "You grabbed the bag. I told you to be careful with. I told you to stop leaving orders on the railing." Harlan jabbed a finger toward Leo's face. "You people think you can just toss stuff anywhere and run. Lazy trash." The word landed harder than the shove. Leo swallowed, feeling the familiar tightness in his chest. The reminder that this was his second job, that his mom's medical bills weren't getting smaller, and that a one-star review could mean fewer shifts. The barking from next door grew louder, rougher, as if the dog could taste the venom in Harlan's voice. A brown blur appeared at the chain-link fence separating the properties, paws on the metal, teeth bared in a sharp warning. "Rusty heel." The man's voice from the neighboring porch was calm, edged with steel. Leo glanced over. A tall figure stepped into the porch light, shadow peeling away from a worn gray t-shirt and athletic pants. Short-cropped dark hair, a hard jaw, eyes that scanned the scene in one practiced sweep. The kind of eyes that had seen a lot and forgot nothing. The brown mutt, Rusty, dropped back on all fours but didn't stop staring at Harlan, fur bristling. "This your dog?" Harlan snapped. "You better keep him quiet. I don't need some mutt barking at me on my property." Rusty growled softly. The man next door kept his gaze on Leo. "You okay?" he asked. Leo nodded automatically even though his shoulders screamed otherwise. "Yeah, I'm fine." "You're not fine," the neighbor said quietly. "You almost went down those steps." He shifted his attention to Harlan. "Did you shove him?" Harlan scoffed. "Mind your own business." "He was trespassing." Leo stared. "Trespassing? I had your order, man. And you screwed it up." Harlan kicked the pizza bag with the toe of his shoe like it was a stray animal. "I'm reporting you to your app. You'll be lucky if anyone hires you after tonight." That sentence hit like a second shove. Leo pictured his mom's pill bottles lined up on the kitchen counter, the overdue notice on the electric bill. The neighbor's jaw flexed. Rusty stretched the fence chain, nose wet and twitching, eyes locked on Harlan as if the dog had personally decided this was his enemy. "Here's what's going to happen," the neighbor said, voice low, controlled. "You're going to step away from him. You're going to stop threatening to ruin a guy's livelihood because you dropped your own pizza." "Oh yeah?" Harlan sneered. "And who exactly are you?" For a moment the world shrank to that question. The hum of a distant highway. The flicker of a porch light. Rusty's breathing. Leo's heart pounding in his ears. The neighbor held Harlan's stare. "Just a guy who really hates bullies." He turned to Leo. "Get a picture of the order, the porch, the mess. Document it." Leo hesitated, pulling his phone from his pocket. "The app, it says we're not supposed to." "Tonight," the neighbor said, eyes narrowing on Harlan, "you're going to want proof." Harlan took a step forward, face flushing dark. "You think you can tell me what to do on my porch?" he growled. "You have no idea who you're messing with." Rusty's bark ripped through the night again, louder, angrier, just as Harlan's hand disappeared into his pocket for something Leo couldn't see. Leo's thumb hovered over the camera icon, suddenly afraid of whatever Harlan was fishing out of his pocket. "The phone? Something worse?" The neighbor moved first. He didn't lunge or shout. He simply took 2 unhurried steps toward the property line, body shifting in a way that instantly changed the air. "Heavy. Ready." Rusty flowed with him, reading him like the two were wired together. "Hands where I can see them," the neighbor said. Not loud, but final. Harlan froze, then slowly pulled out a phone. He waved it like a weapon anyway. "You threatening me?" he snapped. "I'll call the cops right now. Tell them you and your crazy mutt attacked me and my employee here." He jerked his chin toward Leo. "I don't work for you," Leo muttered. "You do tonight, delivery boy." "You should call," the neighbor said. In fact, I'll save you the trouble. He took his own phone out, flipping it open with practiced muscle memory. I know a few officers who'll love this story. Something flickered in Harlan's eyes. Recognition? Fear? He covered it quickly. Fine. Go ahead. I've got cameras. Whole porch is recorded. We'll see how it plays when I show them how you sicked that mutt on me. Rusty, who was just standing there, tail stiff, ears forward, huffed like he'd understood the accusation. Leo swallowed. Cameras. If Harlan edited the footage, if he twisted it, who were they going to believe? A small business owner or a broke delivery driver who didn't even have health insurance? The neighbor's gaze slid to a corner of Harlan's roof, where a small dark dome clung near the gutters. He noticed everything, Leo realized. Every angle. Every threat. You have audio on those? The neighbor asked. What? Your cameras? He repeated. You recording audio? Harlan smirked. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. If you are and you're not telling customers, that's a whole different problem, the neighbor said. And if you're not, that means you have no proof you didn't shove him first. Harlan's smirk faded. Leo felt a strange comfort watching the neighbor work, calm and methodical. This wasn't random. He was trained for this. I don't need to explain anything to you, Harlan snapped. Go back to your side of the fence. You two mutt. Before I call animal control. You know they put down dangerous dogs, right? Rusty went still. The word put down hung in the air like a threat aimed at something innocent. Leo's stomach lurched. The neighbor's voice chilled. You're not going to threaten my dog, he said. Or this kid's job. Or anyone else around here. Leo blinked. Kid. He was 24, but somehow the word didn't bother him. It felt protective. Harlan laughed, mean and sharp. You act like you own this neighborhood. You don't. People work for me around here. His eyes cut to Leo. Tomorrow you go to your app and rate my restaurant 5 stars, you hear? You say the customer was friendly, delivery went perfect. You don't? I'll make sure every manager in this town knows your name. You'll never work another shift. It was extortion, plain and simple. Leo felt the trap closing and hated how real it was. Rent due in 10 days. Mom's refills due in 3. Rusty whined softly, like he could hear the math happening in Leo's head. The neighbor looked at Leo, reading the hesitation. There was something haunted in his eyes now, a flicker of memory, some other night, some other victim, maybe one he hadn't been able to help. Don't lie for him, the neighbor said quietly. Bullies like this count on people being scared. I don't have the luxury of being fired, Leo whispered back. The neighbor studied him for a breath, then nodded like he understood that pressure too well. What's your name? Leo. I'm Cole, he said. I'm your neighbor. And I promise you this isn't over. Not by a long shot. Harlan snorted. Big talk from some guy in sweatpants. He jabbed a finger at Leo again. 5 stars. Tomorrow. Or you're done. And stay off my porch. He slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. The night went quiet. Leo realized his hands were shaking. Cole opened his gate, Rusty trotting faithfully beside him, and walked over. Let me see that shoulder, Cole said. It's fine, Leo protested, even as he winced when Cole lightly touched the bruised muscle. Cole's jaw tightened. You need to document this too. Bruising if it shows up. That shove could have put you in the ER. Who's going to care? Leo asked, bitterness cutting through the fear. It's just a delivery driver, right? Rusty nosed at Leo's hand, warm and insistent, like he refused to accept that answer. Oh, someone's going to care, Cole murmured. Because that man just threatened my dog, and my neighbor. For the first time, Leo noticed the small black rectangle clipped to Cole's waistband, half hidden by his t-shirt. Not a normal phone case. Not a wallet. Who are you really? Leo asked. Cole looked at him, then at Rusty, then back at Harlan's closed door. Let's just say, he said slowly, he picked the wrong porch to shove a kid on. Leo heard something in his tone, something official, something dangerous. Cole, he said, heart thumping. Are you a cop? Cole's answer was a soft, grim smile. Something like that, he said. And tomorrow I'm going to pay Mr. Harlan a visit. Not as his neighbor. Rusty's tail thumped once as if he already knew exactly what that meant. If you want to know how this story ends, make sure to stay with the channel and don't miss the next chapters. Things are just getting started. Morning light made the neighborhood look harmless. Leo knew better. His shoulder ached with every turn of the steering wheel as he finished a grocery delivery across town. His phone buzzed. Unknown, 9:12 a.m. Remember what we talked about. 5 stars. A pit opened in his stomach. Harlan had his number now, from the order receipt probably. Another buzz. And don't talk to anyone about last night. You like walking without crutches, right? Leo's fingers tightened on the phone. Every survival instinct screamed to block the number and pretend none of it had happened. But then he pictured Cole's face when Harlan threatened Rusty. The way the brown mutt had stood at the fence like a little soldier. He sent the screenshot to Cole instead. Cole replied almost instantly. Got it. Don't respond to him. Can you swing by after your shift? Need to talk. Leo stared at the words need to talk. His mind leapt to worst-case scenarios. Lawsuits, cops, managers blacklisting him. Rusty's face popped up in his memory, tongue lolling, eyes worried. Yeah. He needed to talk. By 11 a.m., Leo was standing in Cole's small, tidy living room. The place was modest but organized. Boots lined by the door, neatly folded tactical-style jacket on a hook, framed photo of a younger Cole in uniform with a team of men in black gear and helmets. SWAT. Real actual SWAT. Rusty trotted up, nudging a slobbery tennis ball into Leo's hand, tail wagging like last night's tension hadn't soaked into his fur. You're really SWAT? Leo asked, still holding the ball. Yeah, Cole said, pouring coffee into two mismatched mugs. Metro PD. On leave for a few weeks. Because of? Cole's jaw flexed. Because of a call that didn't go the way it was supposed to. The silence that followed felt heavy. Leo didn't push. I got Rusty from the shelter after that, Cole said instead. Figured we could both use a second chance. Rusty hopped onto the couch between them, flopping on his side and exposing his belly like a walking contradiction. Combat ready one moment, marshmallow the next. So what now? Leo asked quietly. I don't want trouble. I just want to work. Cole picked up Leo's phone and studied the texts. This is harassment, he said. And last night? That was assault. He put hands on you and threatened my dog. Men like that don't usually stop with one victim. Leo thought of the waitresses he'd seen at Harlan's Grill on late-night pickups. Eyes tired, smiles forced. You think he treats his employees like that too? Cole nodded. I'd bet Rusty's dinner on it. As if on cue, Rusty lifted his head and huffed, as though he'd heard his name and approved of the bet. Cole set his coffee down and grabbed a notepad. I can't just kick his door in because he's a jerk, he said. But I can start a paper trail. You file a report. We get your photos, his texts, times, dates. Then I talk to a buddy in uniforms, see what they've heard about Harlan. Leo's stomach twisted. File a report. Like, actually go to the station. You don't have to go today, Cole said. But at some point, yeah. Or we can have someone take your statement here. And if he finds out? If he really calls every restaurant and trashes my name? That's why we do this the right way, Cole said. Because if we let him keep everyone scared, he keeps winning. Something in his voice cracked on that last word. Leo looked up, catching a flash of raw regret in Cole's eyes. You've seen someone keep winning before, Leo said softly. Cole didn't answer. He didn't have to. The silence screamed. Rusty shifted, putting his head on Cole's knee, eyes searching his face like he remembered every bad night. Last year, Cole said finally, we had a domestic call. Guy beating on his wife and kid. She didn't want to press charges. Said he'd make it worse if we did. His fingers absently stroked Rusty's head. We left. A week later we were back. This time we had to go in with a shield. Leo's throat tightened. Did they? They survived, Cole cut in quickly. But barely. I still hear that kid screaming when I close my eyes. Rusty licked his hand like he was erasing a bad memory. So yeah, Cole went on softer. I don't walk away from bullies anymore. Not if I can help it. And definitely not when they're threatening people on my block. Before Leo could answer, a car door slammed outside. Rusty's ears shot up. He hopped off the couch and trotted to the window, letting out a low warning growl. Cole crossed the room in 3 strides, peeking through the curtain. His shoulders tensed. What is it? Leo asked. Cole's mouth flattened. Speak of the devil, he said. Harlan's walking up my driveway. Rusty's growl deepened as heavy footsteps approached the front door, and then came the first hard knock. The knock rattled the thin wood like a warning shot. Rusty planted himself between the door and the 2 men, tail rigid, fur standing up along his spine. He didn't bark this time. It was a growl low and steady like an idling engine. Stay behind me, Cole said quietly. He moved with the same calm precision Leo had seen last night, every step measured. He cracked the door open just enough to show his face, keeping his body solidly blocking the entry. Harlan stood on the small front stoop in his restaurant polo, arms spread like he'd arrived at a barbecue instead of a confrontation. "Morning, neighbor," he said, smile tight. "We got off on the wrong foot last night." Cole's eyes flicked down to Harlan's hands, empty, then back up. "We did," he agreed. "You shoved a delivery driver off your porch and threatened my dog. That's a pretty bad foot." Harlan's smile didn't reach his eyes. "I was upset. Long day. He mishandled an order, things got heated. You know how it goes. Guys like that mess up all the time." Leo flinched where he stood out of sight. Rusty turned his head slightly as if checking on him. "And the texts?" Cole asked. "Still heat of the moment when you threatened his job this morning?" Harlan's gaze sharpened. "So he's here." He leaned sideways like he might peek around the doorframe. Rusty stepped forward with a sharper growl, teeth flashing for a split second. "I'm here as his neighbor," Cole said evenly. "You're on my property. Say what you came to say or leave." Harlan's facade cracked. "I came to give you a friendly warning," he said. "You and your little guard dog seem real interested in my business. Maybe a little too interested." "We're interested in people getting shoved down porches," Cole said. "And extorted." "Extorted?" Harlan repeated like the word tasted bad. "You cops love your big legal words." Leo's heart stuttered. "He knows," he whispered. Cole didn't react, but Leo watched his shoulders stiffen. "I saw the sticker on your truck," Harlan went on. "SWAT. Big hero, huh? You think that lets you run this block?" "It gives me a front row seat when someone breaks the law," Cole replied. "Which you did." Harlan's jaw twitched. "Here's the thing, officer," he said, spitting the title. "I've got a business to run. A reputation. I don't need some punk delivery driver and his cop buddy spreading stories about me." Cole narrowed his eyes. "We're not spreading anything. Yet." Harlan took a step closer, toe nearly touching the threshold. Rusty matched him, growl deepening. "You file a report," Harlan said in a low voice. "You try to drag my name through the mud? I'll go public with everything I know about you. About what happened on Ridgeway last year." The name hit like a slap. Leo saw it land in Cole's face, a flash of shock, then anger, then something darker, guilt. "How do you know about Ridgeway?" Cole asked, voice suddenly dangerous. Harlan smirked. "Small town, big mouths. You kicked in the wrong door, didn't you? Got people hurt. That why you're on leave?" Leo felt cold all over. Rusty whined once, looking up at Cole with wide eyes. "You don't know what you're talking about," Cole said quietly. "I know enough," Harlan said. "Enough to make people wonder if they want a trigger-happy SWAT cowboy living next door. You start trouble for me, I start trouble for you. See how your boss is like a complaint about you, huh? You threatening my job now?" Cole asked. "Call it mutually assured destruction," Harlan replied. "Drop this. Tell Pizza Boy to forget last night. You keep your shiny tactical badge. I keep my business. Everybody wins." Leo's mind spun. This was bigger than a shove now. This man had somehow dug up Cole's worst wound and weaponized it in less than a day. Cole stood very, very still. The air around him seemed to harden. Rusty stopped growling, sensing a different kind of danger, one that came from inside his human, not outside. When Cole finally spoke, his voice was ice. "Get off my porch," he said. "You'll regret this," Harlan hissed. "Both of you." He turned on his heel and stomped back down the driveway, slamming his car door so hard the glass trembled. His sedan roared away, leaving the street buzzing with leftover anger. Cole closed the door gently, almost too gently. His hands were shaking. "How does he know about Ridgeway?" Leo asked. Cole stared at the door for a moment, then turned away, shoulders heavy. "Because the world is full of people who dig for leverage," he said. "And because I made a mistake once big enough that people still talk about it." Rusty padded over and pressed himself against Cole's leg, anchoring him. "I'm sorry," Leo said. "Don't be," Cole replied. "I'm not the one who shoved you. Or threatened you. But now he's threatening you too. Maybe we should just let it go. I can take the hit. It's not worth your badge." Cole looked at him, eyes bloodshot and fierce. "That's exactly what he wants," he said. "For decent people to swallow it and move on. That's how guys like him get comfortable." Leo thought of Harlan's smirk, the waitress with the fading bruise on her wrist he'd noticed last month at pickup, the cook who wouldn't meet his eyes. What if he hurt someone else? Leo whispered. "He will," Cole said. "Unless someone stands up to him. And if that someone loses everything?" Cole glanced down at Rusty, then back at Leo. "Maybe I deserve to lose something," he said hoarsely. "For Ridgeway." Before Leo could argue, Rusty let out a sharp bark and jumped back to the window, paws on the sill. Cole frowned. "What is it, buddy?" He pulled the curtain aside. Leo joined him, then felt his stomach drop. Across the street, parked at an angle in front of Harlan's grill, a patrol car sat with its lights off. 2 officers were talking to Harlan on the sidewalk. Harlan pointed directly at Cole's house. "Is that because of us?" Leo asked. Cole watched the scene, jaw clenched. When one of the officers lifted a tablet and showed Harlan something that made him smile, Cole's blood seemed to drain from his face. "That's body cam footage from Ridgeway," he said, voice barely audible. Somehow he got his hands on it. Rusty whined as Harlan and one of the officers started toward Cole's driveway. The sight of uniformed officers walking toward the house hit Leo like a flash forward to his worst fears. Fired. Blacklisted. Branded a liar. Rusty let out a series of short, sharp barks, tail high, not fearful but on alert. "Easy boy," Cole murmured, fingers brushing his fur. "They're not the enemy." He hoped. A knock sounded again, different this time. Professional rhythm. Cole opened the door, Rusty at his heel, Leo hovering just behind. "Morning, Sarge," the taller officer said, visor hiding his eyes for a moment before he pushed it up. "Didn't expect to find you home on a weekday." "Saw the patrol car," Cole said, masking his unease with a polite nod. "What's going on, Diaz?" Officer Diaz glanced past Cole into the living room, clocking Leo and Rusty in one swift sweep. "We got a call from Mr. Harlan across the street," he said. "Claims he was harassed last night by a delivery driver and an off-duty tactical officer." "And you believed him?" Leo burst out, then immediately regretted speaking. Diaz held up a hand. "We're here to get both sides," he said. "Calm down, kid." The second officer, a woman with a firm gaze and tidy bun, scribbled on a notepad. Rusty stayed pressed to Cole's leg, eyes flicking between faces, sensing the tension. "Harlan says there was an altercation on his porch," Diaz continued. "He says you, Sergeant Cole, escalated the situation and threatened him. He also mentioned you're currently on leave pending an internal review from an incident last year." "Ridgeway," Cole said flatly. Diaz's jaw tightened. "You know I can't talk about that," he said. "But yeah. Look, this is probably nothing. We just need a statement for the file." "He shoved me," Leo blurted. "I almost went down the steps. He threatened to get me fired if I didn't lie in the app. And he texted me this morning." He pulled out his phone with trembling hands, thrusting it toward Diaz. The female officer took it instead, scanning the messages. Her expression hardened. "This reads like intimidation," she said. "Which is why I asked Leo to document everything," Cole added. "I was there. I saw Harlan put hands on him." Diaz looked at Cole, then at the dog, then out toward the restaurant where Harlan was pretending to clean his windows while obviously watching. "This isn't the first call we've had about him," Diaz admitted quietly. "Employees quitting, neighbors hearing shouting, that kind of thing. But no one files formal complaints. They're afraid of losing jobs." "Exactly," Cole said. "He thinks he's untouchable." The female officer nodded slowly. "We logged his call," she said. "That means this conversation, also becomes part of the record. Including these texts." She patted Leo's phone. "So you'll do something?" Leo asked. "We'll write it up," Diaz said carefully. "Whether that turns into charges, depends." "On what?" Cole asked. "On whether you want to push this while you've got your own review open," Diaz said, meeting his eyes. "You know how the brass get when your name pops up too much." It was a quiet warning. A friend's warning. "If I back off because of Ridgeway," Cole said slowly, "then Ridgeway wins twice." Rusty nudged his hand, sensing the storm brewing inside him. Diaz sighed. "Look, Sarge, off the record? The guy's a jerk. None of us like going over there. But if this turns into SWAT sergeant versus small business owner, the PR alone will be ugly. Harlan's already talking like you're harassing him." "He harassed me," Leo insisted. "He shoved me. He threatened Rusty." At the dog's name, Rusty perked up, gave a soft, offended bark as if to say, "Yeah, I was there." The female officer's lips twitched for half a second, then she sobered. "Here's what we can do today," she said. "We take your statements. We note the physical contact in the text. We log Harlan as a potential aggressor. If he so much as looks at you funny again, you call us. We'll have a pattern on paper, not just rumors." "That's not going to stop him from trying to ruin Leo's work," Cole said. "No," she agreed. "But it will stop him from doing worse without consequences." Diaz lowered his voice. "And as for the Ridgeway stuff, he shouldn't have that footage. I'll quietly see how he even heard about it." Cole nodded once, grateful but still simmering. They spent the next 20 minutes giving their statements. Leo stumbled over some details, but every time he faltered, Rusty would bump his leg with his nose like a living metronome, grounding him. Cole filled in the gaps without embellishing, just facts, like he'd done 1,000 times on reports. When the officers finally left, the sun was higher, the street brighter, but everything felt heavier. Across the way, Harlan stood in his doorway, arms crossed, watching like a vulture. "He's not going to just accept this," Leo said, hugging his arms around himself. "No," Cole agreed. "Bullies rarely do." Rusty hopped onto the couch and stared out the window, eyes never leaving Harlan's place. "What now?" Leo asked. Cole's gaze followed the dog's line of sight. "Now we wait," he said. "And we watch. He'll make a mistake. Guys like him always do. And if his mistake is going after someone else?" Cole's mouth became a hard line. "Then we make sure we're there when he does." Rusty's tail thumped once as if volunteering. That afternoon, Leo went back to work, shoulder throbbing, nerves frayed. Toward the end of his shift, his app pinged with a new order request. Pick up, Harlan's Grill. Drop off, unknown. His blood ran cold as his thumb hovered over the accept button, just as another text from an unknown number flashed on his screen. "Come back to my porch, delivery boy. We need to finish our conversation." Leo stared at the order, heart hammering, realizing with a sick twist that if he refused too many orders from the same restaurant, the app could deactivate him automatically. He swallowed hard, finger trembling, and made his choice, knowing it might drag him straight into Harlan's next trap. Leo stared at the screen until the countdown circle went red. If he didn't hit accept, the app would mark it as a refusal. Too many of those, and a polite little email would tell him his account activity no longer meets our standards. He thought of his mom's inhaler, the overdue electric bill. Cole's words, "If we let him keep everyone scared, he keeps winning." Leo hit accept. His fingers flew to the text thread with Cole. "Leo, he just sent me an order from Harlan's Grill." Cole, "Figures. Share your live location." "Leo, you want me to cancel?" Cole, "No. We do this smart. I'll shadow you." Rusty too. Minutes later, Leo pulled into the strip mall lot, heart punching at his ribs. Harlan's Grill squatted between a nail salon and a dark, empty storefront. The neon open sign buzzed like a mosquito. Leo parked near the back where fewer cameras could see his plates. As he killed the engine, a familiar brown head popped up in his rearview mirror. Rusty sat in the back seat of Cole's truck a few spaces over, ears perked, watching him. Cole leaned on his own steering wheel, phone in hand, eyes on Leo. He gave a small nod. "You're not alone." Leo swallowed and went inside. The smell of grease and charred meat hit him first. Then the tension. A waitress with dark circles under her eyes wiped down a table, avoiding Harlan's gaze as he barked orders toward the kitchen. When Harlan saw Leo, his smile spread slow and poisonous. "There he is," he called loud enough for everyone to hear. "My favorite delivery boy. Come on back. We need to talk about last night." The app pinged in Leo's hand. "Order ready, pick up by back door." "App says back door," Leo said, voice thin. "Exactly," Harlan replied. "Come on. Wouldn't want to keep the customer waiting?" The word dripped with sarcasm. Leo felt every eye in the place on him as he followed Harlan through the swinging door to the hot, noisy kitchen. A teenage cook glanced up, then quickly looked away when Harlan's gaze cut his way. They stepped out into the narrow alley behind the restaurant. The metal door clanged shut, muting the hiss of fryers. The air smelled like old oil and cigarettes. There was no order waiting. No pizza bag. Just a stack of dented trash cans and a cracked concrete wall. Leo's stomach dropped. "Where's the food?" Harlan's smile vanished. "You think you can call the cops on me and there won't be consequences?" he snarled. "You think your little SWAT boyfriend is gonna save you? He's not." Harlan grabbed a fistful of Leo's shirt and slammed him back against the wall. Pain shot through his shoulder. "You're going to go back in there?" Harlan hissed, breath sour in Leo's face. "You're going to pick up every order we give you. You're going to rate us 5 stars forever. And you're going to tell your cop neighbor that if he keeps sticking his nose in my business, I'll break more than your shoulder. Clear?" Leo tried to twist free. "You're already on record for assault," he gasped. "You really want to add more?" Harlan's grip tightened. "You think anyone's going to believe a screw-up driver and a washed-up SWAT cowboy over me?" He shoved harder. "I know things about him. About Ridgeway. People listen when I talk." Footsteps scraped at the mouth of the alley. "Let him go, Harlan." Cole's voice carried down the concrete chute, flat and deadly. Rusty padded beside him, hackles raised, lips curling just enough to show teeth. Harlan didn't release his grip. "We having a party?" he sneered. "You bring your attack dog to finish the job?" Cole's right hand hung near his hip, empty but ready. His eyes took in everything: distance, angles, Harlan's stance, Leo's breathing. "I said," Cole repeated, "let him go." "Or what?" Harlan spat. "You shoot me?" "Oh wait, you already did that once on the wrong house, didn't you?" The words slammed into Cole, dragging that night back in one brutal flash. Splintered door, screaming, smoke, the wrong face staring at the muzzle of his rifle. His pulse spiked. Rusty whined once, sensing the old wound reopening. Harlan saw the flinch and grinned. "There it is," he said. "The hero's guilt. How do you sleep, knowing you?" Rusty barked, sharp and furious. Harlan snapped his free hand toward the dog, fingers curling into a fist, like he meant to swing. Cole moved. He stepped forward, muscles coiled, as Harlan let go of Leo just long enough to reach into his back pocket, fishing out something small and metallic that flashed in the dim light. Leo's breath hitched. That wasn't a phone. It was a pocket knife, and Harlan's hand was turning toward Rusty. Time fractured into tight, jagged pieces. Cole saw the knife, saw Rusty's exposed throat, saw Ridgway bleeding through the edges of the moment like a bad ghost. Not this time. "Rusty, back." The command snapped through the alley. Rusty leaped backward, paws skidding on concrete just as Harlan's arm slashed through the space where the dog's head had been. Cole closed the distance. He grabbed Harlan's wrist with both hands, twisting hard. The knife clattered to the ground, metal ringing. Harlan howled. "Crazy. You're crazy." Leo pressed himself against the wall, heart pounding, watching the two men struggle. Cole's training showed in every movement, controlled, efficient, no wasted motion. But his eyes burned with something more than professional focus. "No more threats," Cole gritted out. "No more shoves. No more dogs." He wrenched Harlan's arm behind his back, planting him chest first against the wall. Rusty stood at Cole's flank, not lunging, just holding position, a low growl vibrating in his chest like a warning sign. "Get off me!" Harlan screamed. "Help. Somebody help. He's attacking me. His dog tried to bite me." The back door flew open. The teenage cook and the tired-eyed waitress peered out, eyes huge. "Call 911, Leo blurted. "No. He pulled a knife on us." The cook fumbled for his phone. The waitress just stared, gaze swinging between Harlan and Cole, and Rusty. Harlan twisted his head and saw his audience. His expression flipped in a heartbeat from rage to wounded innocence. "He jumped me," he yelped. "He set his dog on me. That mutt's dangerous, look at it." Rusty's ears flattened. He took a hesitant step backward, as if the accusation stung more than the threat. "It's on my camera," Cole said, teeth clenched. "Bodycam's been running since I followed Leo, Indiana. You pulled the knife, Harlan. You went for my dog. You're on leave," Harlan spat. "Who's going to believe your footage after what you did on Ridgway?" The knife lay between them, a small, glittering piece of leverage. Leo stared at it, suddenly imagining headlines. SWAT sergeant tackles local business owner in alley, dog attacks. The truth twisted like it had for that family Cole still saw in his sleep. A siren wailed in the distance, growing closer. The waitress took a breath, then stepped fully into the alley. Her name tag read, Maddie. The bruise Leo had noticed weeks ago was now fading to yellow at the edges. "I saw him grab the driver last night," she said, voice shaking but loud. "He pushed him. And today he told everyone you'd pay for calling the cops." Harlan jerked his head back toward her. "You ungrateful little..." Cole shifted his grip. "Don't," he warned. The house felt wrong without Rusty. Too quiet. Too clean. The tennis ball in the corner stayed still. The food bowl sat untouched by the back door like a little shrine. Cole paced the living room, phone glued to his ear. "You're telling me the body cam footage from Ridgway is still sealed?" he said. "Then how the hell did a greasy diner manager quote it back to my face?" On the other end, his former teammate muttered something about leaks, admin staff, rumors. Cole's jaw clenched tighter with every word. "Yeah," he said finally. "See what you can find. And Jax, I owe you one." He hung up and sank onto the couch. The indentation where Rusty usually slept was painfully visible. Leo sat in the armchair, eyes flicking to the empty spot every few seconds. "I keep thinking I hear his tags," he admitted. "Like phantom jingles." "I keep listening for him to warn me someone's at the door," Cole said. "Feels like I lost my radar." Leo turned his phone over in his hands. "Animal control said he was..." "What was it?" Stressed but cooperative. Of course he's stressed, Cole snapped. Then his shoulders sagged. Sorry? He spent enough time in a shelter before I got him. He probably thinks I dumped him again. Leo swallowed. We're getting him back. Damn right we are, Cole said. But we're doing it by burying every lie Harlan's told under a mountain of truth. That afternoon was a blur of calls. Maddie came over on her break, clutching a crumpled notebook. He keeps track of our hours in here, she said, handing it to Cole. But what he pays us never matches. He makes us clock out and keep working when we're too close to overtime. If we complain, he docks our tips. The pages were messy but damning. Schedules, scribbled adjustments, notes like add 2 hours, cash no record. Wage theft, Cole muttered. Labor board will love this. An older delivery driver named Carl met them in the parking lot at dusk, gaze darting nervously toward the restaurant. I've been shoved too, he admitted, voice low. Couple months back, I told him I couldn't wait 30 minutes for an order that wasn't ready. He grabbed my jacket, called me trash. I didn't report it. Figured no one would care. Cole recorded his statement with his phone. Someone cares now, he said. A dishwasher barely out of high school sent Leo a shaky video taken in the walk-in cooler. Harlan yelling inches from his face, jabbing a finger into his chest, threatening to break his hands if he dropped another plate. Piece by piece, the pattern emerged. A web of fear and control that stretched far beyond one shove on a porch. But it was a text from an unknown number at 9:47 p.m. that broke the dam. This is Danny. I used to be a hostess at Harlan's. Maddie said you're collecting stories. I recorded something last year. Never showed anyone. Was too scared. You still want it? Leo's fingers flew. Yes. Seconds later, an audio file popped up. Cole plugged his phone into the TV speaker. The living room filled with Harlan's voice, clear, cocky, dripping arrogance. I just give him a little shove, he was saying. Laughter clinked around him. Other voices, maybe guys at a bar. Drivers, busboys, whatever. They act like they're gonna call HR or the cops. They never do. You give them a scare, remind them they're replaceable, they fall in line. Another man chuckled. You're gonna get sued, man? Nah, Harlan scoffed. You don't shove anyone who can afford a lawyer. You go after the desperate ones. Single moms. Old dudes. Gig workers. They complain, I blacklist them. Word gets around, they shut up. Cole's hands shook as he hit pause. That's it, Leo said, voice trembling. That's who he is. That's intent, Cole corrected. Pattern, motive, method. And he admitted targeting vulnerable people. You couldn't script better evidence. He fired off emails. One to Diaz, one to the labor board contact Maddie had found, one to his SWAT commander who still, despite everything, believed he wasn't the monster Ridgeway rumors painted him to be. Need this on record, sir, he typed. Victims don't wear uniforms. But they're still ours to protect. He hesitated over the last line, then hit send. By morning, the storm had started. The labor board scheduled urgent interviews with current and former staff. DS texted a terse, we need to talk. Cole's commander called, voice clipped but interested. And Animal Control sent an email. Regarding Rusty, evaluation pending. There is concern about his exposure to stressful confrontations. Character references and behavior documentation recommended for hearing. He's on trial too, Leo muttered. Just for standing next to you. Cole stared at the screen. Then we prove what kind of dog he is, he said. And what kind of man Harlan is. He grabbed his jacket and keys. We're going to that restaurant. You think that's a good idea? Leo asked. No, Cole said. But I think it's the right one. They drove in grim silence. As they pulled into the lot, Cole spotted 2 unmarked sedans and a labor board vehicle already there. Diaz stood near the door with the female officer, talking to a stern woman in a blazer. Inside, the dining room hummed with an uneasy buzz. Customers picked at their food, watching the cluster of badges with thinly veiled curiosity. Harlan stormed out from the back, face red. You can't just barge in here during the lunch rush, he snapped. You're costing me money? The woman in the blazer held up a file. We have multiple corroborated complaints of wage theft, harassment, unsafe conditions, and now a potential assault with a weapon, she said calmly. We can, in fact, barge in. They hadn't even mentioned the audio yet. Cole met Harlan's eyes across the room. For a moment, neither man moved. Then the fryer in the kitchen let out a high, strange hiss. Maddie burst through the swinging door, eyes wide. Grease fire, she shouted. It's spreading. He overflowed the fryer again. Smoke billowed out behind her. Customers screamed. Harlan spun toward the kitchen, panic flashing. Then his gaze darted to a small office at the back, where a metal lockbox sat half hidden under a desk. He hesitated. One beat. Two. And chose the lockbox. Cole saw the choice like it was happening in slow motion. Kitchen full of underpaid kids and terrified servers, smoke thickening, heat blooming in the doorway, and Harlan veering away from the danger toward his stash. Of course, Cole muttered. He'll save the money before the people. He vaulted over an empty booth, boots hitting the tile hard. Everyone out, he yelled, voice booming through the dining room with SWAT command. Grab your bags and move. Panic snapped into motion. Chairs scraped, silverware clattered, customers bolted for the door. The labor board rep helped herd them, Diaz barking directions toward the parking lot. Cole crashed through the swinging door into the kitchen. Heat slapped him in the face. Flames licked up the side of the industrial fryer, orange tongues reaching for the grease-caked hood. Smoke stung his eyes. A teenage busboy coughed in the corner, frozen, clutching a stack of plates like a shield. Maddie stood near the walk-in cooler, eyes watering, trying and failing to remember where the fire extinguisher was. It's above the prep table, Cole shouted. Maddie, kill the gas line, valve by your knee. She dropped and fumbled for the valve. Cole grabbed the extinguisher, yanked the pin, and hit the base of the flames with a roaring blast of white. The fire gulped and shrank, then flared again on a fresh dribble of grease. Leo stumbled in behind him, shirt pulled over his mouth. I can help. Get him out. Cole barked, jerking his head at the busboy. Maddie too. Leo grabbed the kid's arm. Come on, man. I got you. The busboy blinked, then let himself be pulled, coughing, toward the door. Maddie spun the valve until it screeched, then ran after them, hair singed at the ends but eyes fierce. The fire died down as the gas cut off. Cole doused the remaining flames, heart hammering, sweat stinging his eyes. When he finally stepped back, the fryer was a scorched mess, but the kitchen was still intact. Alive. He staggered to the office door, coughing. Harlan was inside, frantically stuffing cash and unmarked envelopes into a duffel. You had kids in your kitchen, Cole rasped. And you went for your money. Harlan jerked up, eyes wild. Get out of here. You just ruined my equipment, you psycho. You nearly burned the place down, Cole shot back. You ever heard of cleaning your hood filter? From the doorway the labor board rep appeared, soot smudging her blazer. She took in the scene, the open lockbox, the bundles of cash, the hidden ledger. That, she said coolly, looks a lot like off-the-books income you never reported. Harlan paled. You can't just, this is a legal search. Diaz, now also streaked with soot, held up his phone. Actually, we were invited in on a safety complaint, he said. Then we watched you ignore a fire to protect this stash. That's probable cause all day. The female officer stepped forward with zip ties. Mr. Harlan, you're under arrest for assault, making criminal threats, and possession of a weapon during a confrontation. Labor violations are pending. You have the right to remain silent. As she recited the Miranda warning, Cole leaned against the doorframe, lungs aching, watching the man who'd shoved Leo and threatened Rusty finally get cuffed. You think this changes anything? Harlan spat, straining against the ties. You're still on leave. You're still the guy who kicked in the wrong door and almost shot a kid. The words hit, but this time they didn't sink as deep. Cole straightened. And you, he said quietly, are the guy who shoved desperate people off porches and thought no one would ever stand up to you. Diaz glanced at Cole. By the way, he said, dropping his voice, we found out how he knew about Ridgeway. His cousin works in admin, pulled sealed footage, bragged about it at a bar. IA is all over it. So the leak wasn't me, Cole said. No, Diaz replied. And your body cam from the alley? It shows exactly what you said. Rusty backing off. You controlling the situation. Harlan pulling the knife. Leo, listening from the hall, felt something inside him loosen. What about Rusty? He asked. Can they still say he's dangerous? Diaz's mouth twitched. Animal control is recommending a hearing, he said. But with that footage and statements from everyone who's seen that dog do nothing but protect people. The labor board rep chimed in. I'll testify, she said. He was calm the whole time until someone threatened his handler. That's not aggression. That's loyalty. Maddie poked her head in, soot on her cheeks, eyes shining. Can I testify too? She asked. I've seen Rusty outside 100 times. Kids pet him when they walk home from school. He's a better person than most people I know. Cole smiled for the first time in what felt like days. Yeah, he said. You can testify. They marched Harlan out through his own dining room, past employees who didn't bother to hide their relief. Some of them even clapped, small, hesitant but real. A customer filmed on their phone as the once untouchable manager ducked under the patrol car doorframe, hands cuffed behind his back. Leo stepped outside coughing and sucked in the cooler air. His app buzzed. Due to unsafe conditions at pickup location, this order has been cancelled. You will be compensated in full. He laughed, a short, disbelieving sound. Guess the app finally took my side. Cole joined him, shoulder brushing his. One down, he said. One more to go. Rusty, Leo said. Rusty, Cole echoed. The next day they sat in a cramped municipal hearing room, walls lined with faded posters about responsible pet ownership. A tired-looking clerk scribbled notes. The animal control officer who'd taken Rusty and sat at a small table, flipping through his file. Leo's leg bounced under his chair. You sure this is going to work? Cole looked at the empty doorway where Rusty would eventually appear. We brought truth, he said. Truth, witnesses, and a dog who saved more people than most humans I know. The side door opened. The handler walked in, leash in hand. Rusty trotted beside him, head low, tail wagging uncertainly, until he saw Cole. Then the whole room disappeared for him. He lunged forward with a joyous bark, toenails skittering on the tile, dragging the startled handler straight toward his human. Rusty barreled into Cole's arms like a furry missile. Cole dropped to his knees, laughing and choking all at once as the dog covered his face in frantic licks, tail thumping against the courtroom tiles like a drum. Hey buddy, Cole managed, voice thick. Told you I'd come get you. The handler grinned. He hasn't stopped pacing since we brought him in, he said. Wouldn't eat much. Kept looking at the door like he was waiting for someone. That's because he was, Leo said softly. The hearing officer, a middle-aged woman with kind but serious eyes, cleared her throat. Sergeant Cole, she said, please have a seat with your dog. We'll begin. Rusty reluctantly settled at Cole's feet, head on his knee. His eyes flicked to every new person who spoke as if weighing their intentions. The animal control officer presented the report. Rusty's shelter history, spotless record, notes on his behavior during evaluation. He's anxious when separated from his handler, the man said. But he shows no unprovoked aggression. All reactions observed were appropriate to the situation. Then came the harder part. Harlan wasn't there, still in county lockup, awaiting arraignment. But his written complaint was. The clerk read it aloud, Harlan's words trying to paint Rusty as a trained attack dog that lunged and threatened him. Rusty sighed heavily and rolled onto his side, unimpressed. Sergeant Cole, the hearing officer said. Your response. Cole stood, smoothing his shirt. Leo could see the tension in his shoulders, the old Ridgeway guilt lurking just behind his eyes. But beside him, Rusty's steady weight was like an anchor. Ma'am, Cole began, Rusty is not a weapon. He's my partner, yeah, but he's also a rescue who spent the first part of his life getting kicked around. I adopted him after a bad call. He took a breath. No way around it now. Last year I led a SWAT entry on the wrong house, he said quietly. Bad intel. We scared a family who didn't deserve it. I own that mistake. I'm still owning it. The room went still. The hearing officer's gaze softened a fraction. Rusty came into my life when I was drowning in that guilt, Cole continued. I trained him myself. Not to attack. To alert. To hold. To back off when I tell him. He barks when he senses danger. He puts himself between me and threats. But he does not bite unless someone is in immediate danger. He gestured toward Leo. The night this all started, Harlan shoved my neighbor Leo so hard he nearly went headfirst down a set of steps. Rusty barked. He didn't cross the fence. He didn't snap. He just warned. In the alley, when Harlan pulled a knife and moved toward Rusty, I ordered my dog to back up. He obeyed instantly. The only reason he was in the middle of it is because his handler was. Leo stood when it was his turn. His voice shook at first, but Rusty's big brown eyes on him steadied his nerves. I deliver food, he said simply. I'm not a cop. I don't know all the protocols. I just know what I saw. Rusty barked when I was in danger. He stayed by Cole when things got bad. He never once tried to hurt anyone who didn't deserve it. He glanced at the hearing officer. Honestly, I trusted him faster than I trusted most people in that neighborhood. Maddie testified next, hands twisting together, telling the hearing about kids petting Rusty on the sidewalk, about how he let toddlers tug his ears without a flinch. The busboy spoke about the fire and how Rusty's earlier barking on the porch had made him feel, for the first time, like someone was watching out for them. Then DS took the stand. I've been a beat cop for 12 years, he said. I've seen truly dangerous dogs. Rusty isn't one of them. I reviewed the body cam footage. Every bark, every movement he made was a direct response to a human escalating. If we start punishing dogs for trying to protect people, we're punishing the wrong end of the leash. The hearing officer scribbled notes, then looked down at Rusty, who had decided her shoes were worth sniffing. He wagged once, hopeful. After a tense silence, she set her pen down. Based on the evidence, she said, this board finds that Rusty does not meet the criteria for a dangerous or potentially dangerous animal. He will be released to his handler with no restrictions. We strongly recommend continued obedience work and routine evaluations, but it sounds like you're already doing that. Leo let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Cole's shoulders dropped, some invisible weight easing. Thank you, he said, voice rough. Take good care of him, the officer added. Seems like he's been taking good care of you. On the courthouse steps, the three of them, one SWAT sergeant, one bruised delivery driver, and one overexcited brown mutt, stood in the sunlight like they'd just come up from underwater. News had spread fast. An article about Harlan's arrest was already making rounds online. Employees were talking about unionizing or at least demanding safer conditions when the restaurant reopened under a new manager. The labor board was digging into not just his wages, but into other businesses he'd quietly invested in. You think he's really done? Leo asked. Legally? No, Cole said. He's got a long fight ahead. But in this town? As the guy who shoved drivers and tried to stab a dog? Yeah. He's done. Leo's app buzzed again. New order request, from a different diner across town. He checked the address and laughed. Hey look, he said. Drop off, Cole S. Cole raised an eyebrow. You delivering to me now? Maybe I figure it's safer when my neighbor's a SWAT officer with a better moral compass than my last manager, Leo replied. Rusty barked once as if agreeing that all future food should, in fact, come directly to him. They walked back to their quiet street together. Leo's beat-up sedan, Cole's truck, Rusty trotting between them like he owned the sidewalk. On the porch where it all began, Cole paused. He looked at the worn steps, the place Leo had almost fallen. You know, he said slowly, Ridgeway? I can't fix what went wrong there. I'll carry that forever. But this. He nodded toward Harlan's shuttered grill in the distance. This I could do something about. Maybe that counts for something. It does, Leo said. You believed me when nobody had to. You fought for your dog like he was family. You fought for all of us. Rusty pressed his head against Cole's hip, then leaned over to bump Leo's hand, demanding scratches from both sides. Cole smiled, softer than Leo had ever seen. Guess we're kind of a unit now, he said. SWAT, delivery, and mutt. Not a bad team, Leo replied. They watched the sun dip behind the houses, the sky turning gold over a neighborhood where people suddenly walked a little taller, knowing the bully on the corner wasn't untouchable after all. Cole scratched Rusty's ears and looked at Leo. Next time you get pushed around, he said, I hope you remember you're allowed to push back. Even if your voice shakes. Especially then. Leo nodded, feeling that settle into a part of him that had grown used to swallowing everything. And you? Leo asked. Next time the past tries to drag you down? Cole glanced at Rusty, then at the quiet street they'd fought to keep safe. I'll remember that sometimes, he said, the best way to honor a mistake is to make sure it never happens on your watch again. Rusty rolled onto his back on the porch, paws in the air, utterly vulnerable and utterly unafraid. And you, what would you do if you saw someone on your street being shoved, threatened, or humiliated like Leo was? Would you look away, or step in even if your voice and hands were shaking?